This is a very sad story about two investors that lost everything. This story unfolded on a narrow strip of land about a half-mile wide and 4 miles long between Tillamook Bay, Oregon, and the Pacific Ocean. In 1906, it began as a dream coming true to two men, Francis Mitchell and Frank Potter. Murphy's Law, in its most pure state, if anything could go wrong, it did. There was the Great Depression, which made money hard to come by, two world wars, and the Tillamook burn, which silted a lot of Tillamook Bay. Ocean currents were changed by building the jetties, causing massive erosion where a number of homes tumbled into the sea. This story ended up with Francis Mitchell staying to the very end, having a nervous breakdown and his wife having a stroke. They built a huge natatorium capable of handling about 300 people at a time. With the changing sea currents, nothing at that time could stop the erosion, and Natorium was swallowed by the sea. In a very bad storm, the ocean breached the sand spit and made the rest of Bay Ocean an island.
We are traveling down the Bay Ocean Road right alongside the Tillamook River at first, and then where it dumps into the sea, the Tillamook Bay. We can see pilings out here. Someplace out here amongst these pilings are some of the remnants of the old pilings that were here that a railroad ran on to give access to Bay Ocean. I'm not sure whether this is it right here or I think it might be farther out in the bay. After the sea breached the sand spit, you can see the sand spit up ahead where it's been stabilized with some trees and grasses on it. Across the bay, you can see the fishing village of Garibaldi. The city of Bay Ocean was cut off from the rest of the world when the spit was breached by the sea. And so the only transportation or the only way you could get to and fro was by boat. And when Frances Mitchell's wife had her stroke, they had to take her out in a boat. And Frances Mitchell reluctantly came. We can see the sand spit ahead and the little hill that was sort of on your right there for a bit was where part of the city stood right in the shadow of that hill. Across we can see Garibaldi, and here is the sand spit. The natatorium, which was swallowed by the sea, was a huge indoor swimming pool that had salt water piped in, so it was salt water, and they even had artificial wave machines in it. This dike where we're going out, the lower dike road which goes out, the upper one comes back. It was built by the Corps of Engineers in the 1950 to stop the breach. It worked too, and some of the sand rebuilt, although where the natatorium sets, it was quite a ways out at sea, and there's not a trace left. There are willows along the lower dike road, and if this were hunting season, you'd see duck hunters hid in these willows, waiting for an unsuspecting duck to fly over low and slow so they can get him. We look ahead, and here's an egret sitting in the edge of a pool getting his morning meal. He's wearing his very best white tuxedo to breakfast, and he very carefully is walking along and watching for a little minnow or a frog or anything with protein in it to eat. And he just saw some, but they moved up ahead, so he'll very carefully move up ahead, watching for them. And then he looks And whoops, that bugger spooked away. But there's one. Oh, and is he nice and tender and good. That was so good, I think another one would be in order. This is an excellent spot for bird watching. There are birds of all different species that hang out here, and particularly lots of ducks and coots. There's the bufflehead ducks, which we see swimming away from us here, 3 of them. And the males right now seem to have their breeding plumage, and they're extremely pretty. There's a little mixed group of ducks floating in Tillamook Bay, and we can see some of the buffleheads mixed in with it. The one with the white patch on their chin would be the bufflehead. There's always a lot of ducks here, so that's why it's so popular with the duck hunters. These ducks are mostly divers, but still can be quite good to eat. The best way we found to do it was to soak them in salt water overnight, and then the next day take them out and put stuffing in them and bake them in the oven, and they were just as good as any duck. It must be quite easy for these ducks to make a living here. Some of them are just casually floating along with their heads tucked back under their wings. This dike once again gave access to the town of Bay Ocean, but it was already too little, too late. A white one here. Here's that white one.
Yeah, but look at all of the ducks out there. Look at them. They're thick as fleas. Look at them.
The sea breeze is just filled with the squawks of ducks.
Boy, person wasn't having any trouble getting their limit on these.
Here that white guy came up.
Look at them. They said they were going to get out of here. They weren't going to get shot at. Look at them all. Wow.
There are ducks of all colors, sizes, and shapes here. Some of them prefer to walk around and eat the grasses up at the high tide line, while others choose to swim around out in the bay and dive. This looks to be a little group of canvasback ducks. This is just an absolutely ideal spot to go bird watching. We're doing all this right from the pickup window as we move out toward the end of the dike road. It's been a while since I've done any serious bird watching, and I've probably forgot some of these, so maybe you need to check to make sure I didn't make a mistake. The railroad track they've welded together and made a rail here, and I just wonder if that's some of the old railroad that came out here at one time. And there's a bunch of piles of rock and stuff here. This may have been part of the old Bay Ocean village right here. And here's some more railroad iron. All these sticks out here are probably markers for oyster farms. Yeah.
Features of Bay Ocean. Uncommon for a small town during this time. They had a dance hall, hotel with orchestra, heated natatorium, could accommodate 250 swimmers. Swimmers paid 40 cents per day, towel and suit included, wave generator, colored lights, section for a band to play music to entertain swimmers, and a bowling alley. Water system, telephone system, diesel-driven power plant, electricity, shooting range. Could rent a .22 caliber firearm to shoot rabbits at Conchola Point. 1,000-seat movie theater, tennis courts, portable rail system, 4 miles of cobblestone streets. Also had a cannery, bakery, jewelry shop, pharmacy, general store, boat dock, sidewalk, school, tin shop, machine shop, and a Texaco gas station.
Okay. What is it with this?
Formation of Bay Ocean. Thomas Benton Potter and son Thomas Irving Potter dreamt to develop an Atlantic city of the West. Construction began in 1906 on a spit between the Pacific Ocean and Tillamook Bay. The development was known as the Queen of Oregon Resorts and the playground of millionaires. The peninsula was 4 miles long, 1/2 mile wide, and 100 feet high, equal to 600 acres total. First lots were sold in 1907 to Francis Drake Mitchell. Mitchell built the first hotel and the general store. By 1914, 600 plus lots had been sold out of 2,000 available plats. By 1920, Potter family had invited more than 2,000 investors to visit their resort. The resort had 1,000 to 2,000 visitors per weekend during the summer.
Wow.
There's Mr. and Mrs. F.D. Mitchell. Okay, how to get there? Despite Bay Ocean having paved roads, it was not connected to the rest of the county until the 1920s. The main way to get to the resort was the SS Bay Ocean motor passenger vessel. It was the largest yacht on the Pacific coast. Shuttled people from Portland to Bay Ocean. 3-day trip from Portland.
And it could be a very rough trip involving 2 very treacherous watercars.
Now, what was out here in the way of buildings that were moved?
Well, there was a huge community out here, living spaces and houses, and there was a natatorium, which was a monstrous swimming pool with balconies around it. There are also other houses. The city center that's in town in Cape Mears was hauled in there. And that's sitting there, and they use that. I'm a classroom teacher. We use the room there and teach the class about Bay Ocean, and we have seniors that come in and tell the story about Bay Ocean. In that senior center that was out here, got moved in.
Oh.
So that's pretty cool. And there's also another house that was hauled in called the Bodega House. It has kind of an Asian flair to it. Inside, you can see it when you drive through town there. It's a little bit different than the other houses. That also was hauled in. But as far as I know, those are the only 2 houses that was rescued from Bay Ocean off the whole huge community that was out here.
Yeah. Well, what happened to the natatorium, or what do you call it, natatorium? It just fell down and...
It fell into the ocean. Now, the place was set up and running with people coming over. There was a little railroad track that went across the bay here. And you can still see the pilings down at this end. But they hauled in all the equipment and supplies for the town. And actually, it was pretty safe. But then they built not the split. It's the jaws at Garibaldi.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
the jetties.
The jetties. They built one jetty there, and that changed the course of the whole flow of the sand flow and everything on the beach here, and started to erode away. along the coast there. And if that hadn't have been done, we'd probably still have a community out here.
Probably.
But it eroded the whole area, and the houses just started falling into the ocean, and people started leaving.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a remarkable story.
And you say the guy that was there kind of went,
Had a nervous
This incredible vision, and he got a lot of rich people from Portland to back him up on building this up here, a big tourist center.
right.
And there's old pictures that are really fun to see of families and communities and post office and all kinds of activities going on out here. And then they built the jetty out there, and it just started to erode away. In fact, I think some of the community was way out in the ocean there.
Oh, yeah.
That it's
Yeah.
underwater, a lot of it there.
I heard someone say that you can even see well casings at low tide out in the ocean.
I haven't seen that, but I'm sure there's stuff out
They've
there.
probably rotted away by now.
Yeah, could be.
And now when we first started coming in, there's a bunch of railroad iron up there. Was that from the tracks that came in here?
Up this way?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that, but it very likely could be.
You know, the barrier from where you can drive?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got like the dike that you drive on. Is that
Right.
what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be for that. They built it up there.
Right.
And then you have the fresh water on one side and the ocean on the other. Or the bay on one side, ocean on the side, and then the freshwater lake in the middle there. So,
Yeah, we
fish.
used to go fishing in that lake.
Did
up
you?
there. Yeah, and
Yeah?
duck hunting as well.
oh yeah, the birds here are incredible. And,
Yeah,
and every day it's different. I mean, you
yeah.
can see so many different kinds of birds in one spot. I see probably 5 different varieties just from right here.
Oh yeah, yeah. And there's a couple of ravens. Yeah, yeah.
So
We
Some of the places where streets were, and probably hard to imagine it now, but this is where the Bay Ocean town site is.
Bay Ocean town site was right here.
Homes were and the hotel was, they have all been located and markers have gone up to mark the spot where they were. Marge came up missing, so when I went to look for her, I found her in what looked to be a phone booth, although it was probably not.
Bay Ocean town site, 1906 to 1971.
Looks as if she picked an appropriate spot to make a phone call. It looks a little like a phone booth, but it's probably not.
The Bay Ocean Hotel set right here. And here's where the old Bay Ocean store was, not far from the old hotel.
There's a lot of dune grass been planted here to stabilize the dunes. There was once a town here with cobblestone streets and everything right here.
Oh, you see there's steps going down in there?
It's right here.
It doesn't say anything here, huh? Well, it doesn't go no very far. This big hole's been something, I don't know what. You know, some rats have stolen. What does it say on that post?
It doesn't say anything on this post.
There were maps in these
Back on.
PVC pipes, but someone stole every one of them. I don't know what this post's for, but it seems to have markers there, so it's for measuring something. Maybe these posts are to measure how much the sand dune is increasing in height. There's another one here. And there's getting all the way across. Bay cities on around there.
And now we've crossed over to the beach and we see Pyramid Rock and Pillar Rock standing tall out in the sea. And about here's where the natatorium once stood. Now there's nothing but sand here and an occasional drift log that's drifted in from someplace as we look north toward the jet. It's very difficult to imagine a city stood here and the natatorium was someplace out in the further waves. It's hard to imagine what it was like back in the good old days, with now all we find are a few empty seashells on the beach. Way back in the heyday of Bay Ocean, this place would have probably been full of people, the hollering of children and the laughter of adults and the conversations. Now we find an old red cedar log here. We hike down the beach till we see a signpost up on the hill, and that's where we'll get off. Now we will travel through the dunes and we can see the parking lot in the background ahead of us. We had fairly good trails most of the way, and I think these are maintained by Tillamook County. And the hike wasn't that bad. It was pretty easy. And the beach hike part of it was very nice too. The beach hike is just one of the options you can take if you're out there hiking. The way this works is this dune grass is first planted on the moving sand dunes. Then Scotch broom is introduced, which puts nitrogen in the soil, and then some shore pine are planted. Seems like the only residents here from the tracks are a few elk and some deer as we approach the parking lot to get in our vehicle. It was a very nice hike. The upper road will take us back. The lower road takes you out there. And this is the dike that the Army engineers built sometime in the 1950s. On the left is Tillamook Bay, and on the right is the freshwater lake of Cape Meares Lake. And that's where we used to go fishing, and even some duck hunting goes on in there. It's a very shallow lake, and they're speculating that in time it will fill with sand and sediments, but so far it's fine. There it is, Cape Meares Lake. That was a very nice hike, and now the sky show. After a super nice hike, as we go back, Mother Nature is putting on a show for us right over the little Cape Meares Lake with Pyramid Rock standing watchfully in the background right out in front of Cape Meares. That is, Cape Meares Lighthouse is on that point up ahead. Our hike probably took us about 4 miles. It was a well worth it hike, and it was really a pleasure to see this, and then to come back and see the sky show makes it even better. There's even a fisherman out testing his luck on the little fishing dock right here in Meares Lake. Right at the end of the dike are some of the pilings that may have been the old railroad that went out here to haul people and supplies to the doomed town of Bay Ocean. As we move back up along calm Tillamook Bay and then past the blimp hangar and back